So CBS Sports did its ranking for the best and worst NFL head coaches. And this is the list. Andy Reid is number 1. I'm not going to go through all of this. But basically the top 10, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Bill Belichick, Sean McVay, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott, Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, and Doug Peterson rounds out your top 10 picks. Quite interesting to see Kyle Shanahan number 2, Andy Reid over Bill Belichick. I was wondering, just quickly, I was wondering your opinion. I didn't talk to you about this. What do you think of Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan being over Belichick?
Yeah, I left it in that order in mine because Belichick post Brady is one game under 500. So I do think he's the greatest defensive coach in the history of the league.
I agree with you there.
And I do think he's overall. I think he's the greatest coach too, and I hope he gets the wins record over the next 3 years. We'll see. He is older now. He's like 72 years old. So that was actually the main reason. I think maybe he's just a hair beyond his prime. Not much. I still love him a lot. And in fact, he's in the top 3. Well, could he be number 1 in my book? Sure. But I left with those first 3. I think Kyle Shanahan's done an excellent job. He has a very creative offensive strategy, and it's very creative. And Andy Reid has Mahomes. Yeah. Right, and they're like Belichick and Brady were. It's Mahomes and Reid. Yeah. So, and they're going to be, I think if they can keep their defense reasonably good and hang on to their skill players that they have on offense now, I think they'll win some more Super Bowls.
I agree with you because think about it. They just won a Super Bowl playing like 10, 11 rookies on that team.
Yeah, I would say if the Patriots make the playoffs this year and win one playoff game, I would put Bill Belichick back at number 1 because they have the hardest schedule, right?
Close.
They're one of the hardest, one of the top 3 hardest schedules, which I don't understand because they didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Right? So, and they've got to play a level above with the players that they have,
especially in an incredibly hard AFC.
And he's a coach that can help them do that. He puts the players in the right spots, and so I do think they should go out and get Hopkins. Yeah, I think that would be in my mind, something that could help them a lot, but. We'll see. It
isn't a topic for today's show, but it is interesting that it came out today that the Chiefs are still in contact with D-Hop, potentially, luring him over to Kansas City.
Oh, that would be, forget it then. Forget it.
All right, so let's jump into ours. So,
okay.
So this was the head coach according to CBS Sports.
One other thing I'd say about CBS Sports picks. How can you rank somebody who has never coached, never been a head coach, ahead of anybody who has been a head coach, even if they've done a terrible job? You don't have any idea whether they're going to be any good or not. The head coaching position is very different.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been a good defensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach or an offensive mind coordinator, but they haven't been the head coach.
Right.
So I don't know how you can say they're higher up than some of these other guys like Josh McDaniel. How can you put these guys, Shane Steichen and
Jonathan Gannon,
DeMeco Ryans, and who's the other one?
Jonathan Gannon.
Jonathan Gannon. How can you put them ahead of Josh McDaniel? Eberfluss, I feel bad for him. They ranked him last, and the articles about it, beating up on him, are terrible.
I don't even think it's his fault.
Yeah, well,
the personnel is terrible.
I mean, he's a defensive mind, and his defense was the worst in the league last year, so that's probably why.
So I'll say this. So this is according to CBS Sports, and I agree with you. So that's why I came with the conclusion of we'll do a TBD. So the head coaching rankings end at 29. They end at 29.
Yeah.
Everyone else, DeMeco Ryan, Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, they're all 28.
That's what I did.
They're all TBD.
I did the same thing.
The most shocking one that I think, truthfully, is having, I have it here, Nick Sirianni and Zac Taylor outside of the top 10 when Nick Sirianni just coached one of the best defenses in NFL history, sack-wise, went toe-to-toe with Mahomes and Andy Reid, almost beat them in the Super Bowl.
And his quarterback, who is just a third-year player, outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
I was going to say that. So basically, Nick Sirianni went from Eagles Nation and the rest of the NFL and media analysts and everything like that, hating on Jalen Hurts, calling him a bust without giving him a real shot, making him a near MVP candidate, and I think you had a really good argument for him potentially being the MVP if he didn't get hurt. And then you have Zac Taylor. What's crazy, I want to jump into this with Zac Taylor. So, and by the way, let's go on down. Number 4, and so by the way, there's a lot of red. There's a lot of red, but most of it is just shifting down.
Yeah.
So it's not like drastic moves down. It's just shifting down. Because you have to put Sirianni and Zac Taylor in your top 5. Because they are the best coaches. They are some of the best coaches right now in the NFL. So let's go Nick Sirianni. Like I said, he developed Jalen Hurts into one of the, you could say top 5. I think he could be top 3 in the NFL right now in the QB. He's also developed one of, if not the best offensive lines in the NFL with Howie Roseman. He also drafted Devontae Smith. He did, like I said, great defense. You traded for A.J. Brown. You also traded for DeAndre Swift, who, injuries, barring any injuries, is a pretty good running back, I would say. Your defense, like I said, has been incredible. So this team right now is going to be the best team in the NFC. Will they take a step back because your offense and defensive coordinators are gone? Probably, and that would make sense for them to take at least one step back. I don't see them going, 14-3 like they did last season. Zac Taylor at number 14 baffles me. He's under Mike Vrabel, Matt LaFleur, who had a terrible season without Aaron Rodgers, and Pete Carroll. Sean Payton hasn't coached in like 2 years, or like a year. I don't know how he could be, that high. So I want to go with Zac Taylor. So I think we have to realize that the Bengals with Zac Taylor and Joe Burrow, but Zac Taylor drafted Joe Burrow, the Bengals just went back-to-back division winners, which they haven't done since the 1981 and 82 seasons. Think about that. They haven't won back-to-back division titles since 1981 and 1982. That's with Zac Taylor and Joe Burrow. Now, you could say Joe Burrow's first year and Zac Taylor's first year was terrible. Joe Burrow tore his ACL and got hurt. So, you can't really blame him there. So, and also, he also drafted Jamar Chase, a top wide receiver in the league. He's the only coach right now in the NFL that you could really say has gone toe-to-toe with Andy Reid and Mahomes, and 3 out of 4 times out-coached Andy Reid, because guess what? He has a 3-1 record against Mahomes and Andy Reid. So you could also say that. He's the only coach to really cause problems for this Chiefs team. No other team could really even say that. Besides maybe Bill Belichick if Tom Brady was still there, arguably. So, and guess what? The Bengals' future from being an okay team with Andy Dalton, making the playoffs a couple times, losing every single time, the Bengals' future is arguably one of the brightest to one of the brightest futures in the NFL right now. Sean McVay, like I said, he just takes a step back. John Harbaugh just a step back. Sean McDermott takes a step back. Mike Tomlin's going from 6 to 9. And I understand Mike Tomlin's history of being, he's the only coach to never have a losing season. And he's done this over the course of his head coaching career. It's been phenomenal to watch. But he's a defensive head coach. And so when you're a defensive head coach, and this is also my argument for Pete Carroll, it can go one and the same. Since Big Ben left, their offense has been terrible, and their defense has also been pretty bad. Their offense, the past 4 seasons, has not been outside of the bottom 10 in the league. That is terrible. And your defense hasn't also been that good. The past 2 seasons, your defense has averaged the 18th best defense in the league. And that's with TJ Watt. And you can say TJ Watt got hurt. He played 15 games 2 seasons ago, and last season he played 10 games. And guess what? He still made the Pro Bowl only playing 10 games. Don't know how the hell that happened. I think Josh Uche was a better defensive player, and he also didn't, play 10 games. So you still have TJ Watt. You still have a great defense, and your defense, on average, the past 2 years has ranked 18th. So to me, that is a demerit, and your offense could not recover outside of an aging Big Ben. Since Big Ben threw for 5,100 yards, your offense has been terrible. Now, could it be an improvement this year with Kenny Pickett, another year under the system? I'm sure it will. But at this current time, Mike Tomlin barely ekes out the top 10. Sean Payton should do wonders for Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. He's still in the top 10. Doug Peterson, He's a winning coach. We'll see what he does this season. But, I would say if I'm really going to move someone outside of the top 10, it would be either Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh to put in Doug Peterson. Outside of that, I don't know if I can move a lot of players. Pete Carroll, the offensive line up until recently has been atrocious. Ask Russell Wilson. The defense, we were talking about bad defenses with Mike Tomlin. The Seahawks defense the past 2 years has ranked, anyone can guess, bottom 5 on average, 27th in the league. That's been their average defense under Pete Carroll. Their offensive line is improving, not great. The offense has been pretty abysmal the past couple seasons. Geno Smith has made it interesting. We'll see what he does with his extended contract now. We'll see how they play this year. I think we could see a little bit of a regression from Geno Smith because last season I feel like could be a unicorn moment for the Seahawks. Matt LaFleur, he was number 11. He drops to 13 on my list, strictly because what is he going to do with Jordan Love? It doesn't seem like the Packers have tremendous confidence in Jordan Love to go out and perform with excellence. His first year without Aaron Rodgers, or without MVP version of Aaron Rodgers, he went 9-8, 8-9, missed the playoffs. It looked pretty bad. So could he have a rebound without the superstar diva Aaron Rodgers? He could, but I don't see it happening truthfully. Mike Vrabel, he's not taking a slump because of his coaching rapport. It's simply because you got to have some room for other coaches. I switched Frank Reich and Mike McDaniel because when Mike McDaniel was coaching Tua, when Tua wasn't hurt, he made Tua look like a top 5 quarterback and outplayed Lamar. Think about that. Outplayed Lamar in a head-to-head matchup. He's a young coach. He went toe-to-toe with Josh Allen, with Skylar Thompson in a playoff game. He almost coached Skylar Thompson well enough to go out and beat Josh Allen in a playoff game with Sean McDermott. He
mismanaged the clock at the end of that game.
He's a young coach, so that's why he's not up in the top 15. He's dead. He's dead average. And Frank Reich, he just got fired from the Colts. He had 2 out of his 5 seasons with the Colts. He had 2 winning seasons, and I believe he actually coached Andrew Luck towards the end of his career. That could be wrong, but I think he did coach Andrew Luck right before he retired. His best season, I believe, was with Phillip Rivers, which is pretty surprising. Yep. I sometimes forget that Phillip Rivers actually was on the Colts, and I believe they went up against the Bills in the playoff game, and then that's when they lost. So Ron Rivera, he should be in red because he takes a ding. He was 21st. I moved him to 22nd. So Dan Campbell moves up 1 spot to 21. So what Dan Campbell has done for the Lions is they made him interesting. They made him a talking point. Generally, when you've talked about the Lions in the past, it's been how bad they are. How they've had talent in the past like Matt Stafford, like Barry Sanders, like Calvin Johnson. And you don't really get much out of it. You maybe get a playoff appearance here, but then you get absolutely crushed and you can't really do much with it. So they actually have, right now, I believe truthfully, and based on my standings predictions, Dan Campbell has put this team in a position to win the first NFC North title since 1993. 1993 was the last time the Lions won the NFC North, and I think right now, currently, that's where Dan Campbell has this team. Jared Goff's playing great. They developed a phenomenal offensive line. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams, once again, is going to have to come out of 6 games. I believe the other day with the injury is suspended again. So I believe it's a suspension. So right now, Dan Campbell has the offense in a pretty good spot, and we have to remember, through the first half of the season, I believe the Lions were either top 3, or at least I know through the first quarter of the season, they were the highest scoring offense in the NFL. Better than the Chiefs, better than Tom Brady and the Bucs, better than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, better than all these teams. The Lions, with Jared Goff at quarterback, was the most high-flying, high-scoring offense in the NFL. That blows my mind. So this team right now, I love them. I think I have them 10 or 11 wins next season. The Lions right now, once again, 1993 was the last time they won the NFC North title. I think, truthfully, if they get into the playoffs as maybe the 4 seed or the 3 seed, and they go up against the Giants maybe, I could definitely see Lions winning 1 playoff game. If it's against like the Giants or some other lower tier playoff. The Vikings potentially. If Aaron Rodgers was back on the Packers and they were in the playoffs, I would say the Lions would beat them because guess what? Look at week 18
They beat him in the last game of the season last year.
And then Jared Goff outplayed Aaron Rodgers in that last game as well. So that's my and I'm not going to put Matt Eberflus and all these other guys up in the green because they just shifted up because I think it's unfair to rank rookie head coaches above any coach in the NFL that is already coached at the head coaching spot. So, well, yes, Matt Eberflus had one of the worst. I think they had like the worst record or something like that in the NFL. I think it's unfair to say that DeMeco Ryans and Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon at the current moment, and Shane Steichen is above Robert Saleh. What? DeMeco Ryans above Robert Saleh. Do we remember that Robert Saleh almost made the playoffs with Mike White,
with no quarterback,
and Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco at the quarter, and even Chris Streveler at quarterback, and he had he had the number 4 defense in the league. Now, while I think Robert Saleh is not a top tier coach, he still did that last season with no quarterback, with an injured running back that had a lot of promise, and the number 4 defense in the league. And you're going to put 2 rookie head coaches over him. Make that make sense for me. I don't understand it. So that is my those are my head coaching ranks according to me, Nathan Harvey. Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.